Well, I certainly know the lessons to pick for a sermon. What was that all about in Luke? It was bad enough last week, but this week. Jesus is talking to his team, his disciples, and they are asking him for more faith. That's what I think, Louise. And he is telling them they don't need more. It only takes just a little faith to do great things. He tells them the problem is not that they have too little faith. The problem is that they're not applying the faith they already have. And he talks about instructing a mulberry tree to uproot and plant itself in the ocean with just a little faith. Then he goes on to tell them a very strange little parable. I would say it's one of his hard to understand parables, Louis. He says, suppose one of you has a servant who has been ploughing or looking after sheep. When that servant comes in from work, would you say to that servant, come along now, sit down here, eat? Not likely. You would probably say, prepare my supper, get yourself ready and wait on me while I eat and drink. After that, you may have your meal. Then after dinner, would you thank the servant because he did what he was told to do? Then Jesus adds these interesting words. So you also, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, we are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty. I think the problem is, the teaching in Jesus' time is so far out of step with our times, it's very difficult for us to make sense of it. Jesus lived in a world in which slavery was a fact of life. In such a world, if the master of the house saw a servant in the field, he would not say to him, come in, get cleaned up, you sit down, I'll make you some dinner. He would say, when you finish your work, come in and look after me. The servant wouldn't expect to be thanked. After all, he had simply done his duty. You and I would not fare well in such a culture. We like to be appreciated for our work. We like to be patted on the back, rewarded. We wouldn't like being faceless, nameless servants. I wonder if any of you have seen a wonderful film called The Remains of the Day, starring Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson. It was actually on television last night. He plays a butler and she a housekeeper. It's set in a time when domestic service was so commonplace in this country that 1/3, 33%, of all women aged 10 and over were in domestic service. Anthony Hopkins spent some time with a professional butler in preparing for his role in the film. And the butler measured his success by how well he could be of service while not drawing any attention to himself. The real test of a butler's excellence, he said, is that the room seems emptier when he's in it. And that's a concept that's totally alien to us. We don't want to disappear into the woodwork. We like people to recognise us when we've done a good job and say well done, or even on occasions to give excessively and unwarranted praise, like Lillian Roach last week coming down to thank me for the sermon. We don't have that same sense of duty that people used to have. It's that sense of duty that Jesus is talking about. He says that when we serve God, we are only doing our duty. We don't deserve any special reward, neither do we need any specific gifts to carry out the work. We don't need any special spiritual insights. We don't even need an abundance of faith. What we need is to show up and willingly do our part. The truth is that this is how too many Christians today want to serve. When it's convenient for them, when it's within their area of expertise, or when they can receive recognition and appreciation. Servitude is an unknowable concept for us. If I were to say, would you be willing to take up the cross and carry it? I suspect many of you would say yes. But how many of you would actually do it? The disciples thought their problem was that they lacked faith. And Jesus told them that wasn't the problem. The problem was a lack of commitment, and that, I believe, is our problem too. And are those sentiments lost on us? Are we too affluent, too pampered, too comfortable to hear and appreciate the words of the gospel? It was Paul who said, "Share with me in the suffering for the gospels according to the power of God, who has saved us and called us with a holy calling." The truth is, many serve without complaint, sometimes with no recognition or glory. It is their duty and nothing more. It's only when we pass over to the other side to be received in the arms of Jesus that we hear those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Never mind the confusing parable. Does that make sense to you? Can you perceive that we have a crisis of commitment, a crisis of servitude in our society? My father was a simple man, a drug bus driver, a lorry driver after his army service in India. But then he started to work at a chemical plant as a process operator, where he proved to be a good man manager and was promoted through the ranks to be one of only 2 plant supervisors. And he would frequently say to me about the company we both worked for, "We have too many chiefs and not enough Indians." Perhaps it is that look out for number one attitude has taken something very important out of our character. There is no record of what Jesus granted the apostles. They didn't need more faith. What they needed was simply to show up for duty. He would give them what they needed, but first they needed to show up and they needed to say, "It is our duty to serve." Sometimes it just takes a little spark to get things going. It takes someone to say, "Hey, we can do this." Just that little faith that Jesus was talking about can ignite a great fire, a great revival, not only in our hearts, but also in our church, in our community, and even the whole world. We just need to be willing to give it a try. I think this parable teaches a great lesson. We need to first look at what we already have and not pine for things that we're not even sure we need. Looking at our church today and how our ministry has been diminished because we have no priest to lead us is not the time to give up. This is a time to step up and do our duty. This is the time to survey our strengths and weaknesses and come up with a strategy. This is the time to step out in faith and actually do something for the Lord. Look around you at your own family, your own friends, and do what we've promised to do for the Lord, to reach out the hand of friendship and help. Amen.